Hello and welcome to For Real. It's Wednesday, so that means it's time for this week's News Moto. Before we get started, could I please ask that you like, subscribe and comment on our videos? Doing these things is free and it really helps us to get more views. More views means YouTube pays us more money, and all the money we make from YouTube we donate to charities here in Cambodia. All the money. We've just received our August revenue and we will be donating it soon. Every little bit helps and something is always better than nothing. In the description of this video you can see the amounts and the charities that we've donated to so far. We don't want your money, honey, we just want a little bit of your time, and since you're already here, let's get started. We'll talk about the dog count from the last video at the end, so be sure to keep watching if you're keen to find out how many dogs there were. Today is Wednesday the 25th of August. Just a disclaimer that this news moto has a lot of big buts, and not the Sir Mix-a-Lot kind. The official COVID case total was again lower today at 428, but another 326 Delta variant cases have been detected. Over 100 of these Delta cases are in Phnom Penh, and this has cast a shadow over the more positive news of the lower daily figures. Cambodia's COVID case total is now sitting at 90,535. Since last week, there have been 14 new deaths, and that brings the total to 1,835 lives lost to COVID in Cambodia. 1,991 people are currently receiving treatment. Cambodia's vaccination total has crossed the magical 10 million mark for those deemed eligible to be vaccinated. Just over 8 million people are now fully vaccinated with both doses. Hopefully, Cambodia is now at the point where enough of the population is vaccinated that the hospital system will not be under pressure of breaking due to COVID. In a developing country such as Cambodia, that's a really important factor. The spread of the Delta variant is proving to be difficult to handle. The number of cases may go up, but hopefully not the number of deaths. A new laboratory was added to Siem Reap's COVID-19 testing facilities. This laboratory is capable of testing up to 1,000 samples per day. However, the laboratory does not possess the equipment for the detection of the Delta variant. The Ministry of Health stated that this machine will be installed in the near future. Battambang Provincial Referral Hospital is also getting a new COVID-19 lab and is set to open in early September as soon as construction is finished. Kampong Cham's provincial administration also unveiled a COVID-19 lab and displayed a newly installed oxygen production machine in its provincial hospital. This is all great news for Cambodia. Yesterday, the Ministry of Post and Telecommunications started to sell two types of COVID-19 rapid test kits to the public. These are the COVID-19 SD biosensor or standard Q test that's made in South Korea and sells at a price of $3.70, and the Healgen antigen rapid test, which is a Chinese-made test kit that costs just $2. The availability of these tests at such low cost is fantastic because a full COVID test will cost upwards of $100, and the availability of these kits will ease pressure on the testing sites. There was some big news about the reopening of Cambodia, but it does sound very vague, so don't call your nearest Cambodian embassy just yet. The tourism minister said, "The opening of safe tourism will be done step by step, based on the principle of maintaining a balance between socio-economic activities and ensuring safety and public health for citizens. We have the opportunity to reform Cambodia's tourism sector to become a quality, safe and sustainable tourism destination." Other government officials have hinted that a reopening may happen in September or October, but again, don't get too excited. This will only happen if there are no more outbreaks, and the Delta variant's progress across Cambodia could alter the start date significantly. Later, the article mentions that the tourism sector will begin to open with domestic tourists and then international tourists at some point after. The president of the Cambodian Restaurant Association stated, "We have to take precautions, but we also need to live with COVID-19 so people can socially reconnect through new safety measures. Each step forward has to be based on indicators such as vaccination rate, the prevalence of infection, and the hospitalisation rate. What I recommend is to make sure we have a path for tourists who are vaccinated so they have a shortened path to come to Cambodia and conduct their activities, whether that be tourism or business, without too much quarantine," he said. I think he's preaching to the choir on that one. So after 2 years of waiting, the Tourism Ministry is set to reopen the tourism sector and the new normalcy with 3 important phases, otherwise known as the 4 Rs. Phase 1, which will be in 2020 and the rest of this year, is called Resilience and Restart. Phase 2, which is 2022 and 2023, is called Recovery. And then 2024 and 2025 will be the relaunch phase. The full plan with all the details is due to be released in early September, and I can't wait to get my hands on that so I can tell you about the details it contains. This is the first official announcement we have seen about reopening, so we'll be watching this space very closely. Trade unions have proposed that the minimum wage for workers be raised to $200 per month starting next year, which is a reduction from their initial demand of $250 that they made back in 2020. According to Cambodia's Ministry of Labour, the monthly minimum wage for this year is set at $192 for regular workers, an increase of $2 from 2020, so just over a 1% increase. Remember, this is for people who earn a set wage. Obviously, people that are working informally receive much, much less. Cambodian people with Chinese ancestry across the kingdom participated in the annual Ghost Festival this week. The Ghost Festival is celebrated mainly to honour ancestors and relatives, but also for business prosperity. But, perhaps most importantly, to burn as much stuff as possible. Chinese traditions are respected and practiced by many Cambodians, with 8 celebrations a year, including Ghost Festival, Winter Solstice Festival, Kitchen God Festival, Chinese New Year's Eve, Chinese New Year, Spirit Parade, Tomb Sweeping Day, and a few others. 2 Thai nationals and a Cambodian have been charged with trafficking more than 30 kilos of various drugs. The captain of the Phnom Penh Municipal Anti-Drug Police said officers went undercover as drug dealers and managed to contact the accused and make an order to purchase drugs from them. During the crackdown, one of the accused tried to open fire at the raiding police officials before fleeing the house. However, police managed to fire 10 shots in the air and ground to prevent the suspects from escaping. 24 kilos of methamphetamine, 4 kilos of MDMA, as well as other drug substances were found. Police also seized a pistol and a Raptor quad bike, which is really not the smartest transport for a drug dealer. This next story is truly massive and extremely complex. I'll leave a link to the story in the comments below, but I do recommend that you read it for yourself. The article is titled Dark Allegations, Sinister Claims Made About the China Project in Sihanoukville. It details a large compound known as the China Project. And from what I can gather, the China Project is a group of buildings near Otras Beach. The article outlines claims about human trafficking, drug use, gambling, prostitution, and lots of other shady activities. It reads more like an investigation piece than a news story, so best that you have a look for yourself. We will update you if anything else surfaces regarding that story. Officers from the Bantay Sray Forestry Administration in Siem Reap province found 984 geckos. We expect they are actually tokes and not the common small geckos, but if so, we could be millionaires. They were being transported in a delivery truck belonging to the transportation company Vaccination Buntam. Forestry officials demanded that the company pay a fine of $30,000 to release their truck from impound. The owner of Vaccination Buntam has refused to pay, saying that the geckos belonged to a customer and their staff were unaware of the contents. The cases were loaded onto the truck in Prey province by a customer sending them as freight, and his staff were unaware of the case's contents. We cooperated with the authorities by providing the contact information given for the sender and receiver of the package, and we gave them a receipt, the owner said. He also added that the official told the company to find and arrest the sender if they wanted to avoid the fine. Virac said he believed that the amount of money being demanded and the suggestion that his company somehow apprehend the sender of the packages was implausible, impractical, and possibly an illegal course of action for a private transport company to undertake. And the entire incident was a scheme hatched by the officials in an attempted shakedown. The deputy chief of the Bantay Sray Forestry Administration strongly rejected those accusations. It is extremely strange. The only way to clear your name is to track down and arrest the person yourself. But it would make a great movie. Here's where it gets a bit more confusing though. How did they arrive at the amount of $30,000 for the fine, you might ask? Well, it's time for everyone to grab their calculators. Fines are calculated up to 2 or 3 times the value of the wildlife in question. The market price of a tokay is between $5 and $15, depending on how big and fat it is. So the fine could range from $9,840 at the lowest valuation of $5 per gecko, doubled, then multiplied by 984, or $44,280 for the maximum fine of $15 per gecko, tripled and then multiplied by 984. Now onto another fishy story. Breeders ponder business closure with no fish demand. Fish farmers supplying to restaurants are struggling with smaller market demand, and many of them are deciding to close their businesses due to the lack of demand, but also an increase in smaller fish farming businesses. Farming for restaurant supplies declined tremendously during the COVID-19 outbreak because of the reduction in gatherings such as weddings, parties, or tourist attractions. This has caused some restaurants to close, meaning the demand for fish is less. In turn, this has also meant that more people are out of work and have returned to rural areas to farm, hence increasing the amount of new small fish farms. A 30 by 40 metre fish pond can raise up to 30,000 to 40,000 fish and could net them a very good profit. Now on to some percentage updates. The Senior Minister of Infrastructure and Regional Integration Technical Working Group, or the IRITWG, stated that the 38 road project in Siem Reap is now 70% complete. The work is expected to be finished by the end of this year. We're hoping to visit Siem Reap soon to see all the changes that have happened in the last 5 months since we were there last. Rainy season rice production in Cambodia has already exceeded its target yield. As of this week, farmers had grown more than 2.6 million tonnes, nearly 102% of the yearly plan. Moving on now to some positive news, there are currently more than 3,143 centenarians in Cambodia. According to the latest census, Phnom Penh has the highest number of centenarians at 462, followed by Siem Reap, which has 267, Tabong Khmum, which has 250, Kampong Cham 242, Kandal has 220, and Kep has 3. There are always a few of these weird kinds of stories in the news report that aren't really news but more random facts. Nevertheless, I thought you'd find that quite interesting. Now back to the random fact of the dog count from the previous video. We have watched the footage with our doggles on, and we can confirm that the count is definitely, exactly, somewhere in the region of either 19 or 20. To those who spotted the little fella inside the concrete pipe, very well played. We aren't sure whether one dog appeared twice, hence the hedging of bets between 19 and 20. We do have 3 people that selected either 19 or 20 as their number in the dog count, and we have Brian from Moonlight Mist and Memories who said 20, and Jerry and Kate in Oregon, and Jose Gonzalez both said 19. So well done to the 3 of you, you are our winners. We're not sure what your prize is yet, we'll have to have a think about it and let you know very soon. That brings us to the end of another News Moto. But thank you very much for joining us today, and for those of you that join us every week, we are so pleased to have you here. If you're a new subscriber, we'd like to welcome you. We also suggest that you have a look at the links that we have in the description of our videos. There's links to other people that are making content here in Cambodia, links to other people that we find entertaining, links to our social media, and of course links to the charities that we support through this channel. Once again, thanks so much for watching, and we'll see you in the next one. Bye!